Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to today's segment of Tech Tuesday for the One Piece trading card game. My name's Tyler, and this is TCG Empire, where we have all things TCG. Now, the week segment is about Zoro. Now, Zoro is a very strong deck, as we saw in Meta Monday. It has great ways to take board control, and there's not very many tech cards that you can put in that aren't already thought about. But the cards that we're going to talk about today that could be potential techs are the first being Tony Chopper. Very, very, very simple. It is just a one-drop blocker. Now, Tony Chopper doesn't serve any more purpose than that. It's not a very good swinger, but it is a blocker, and especially in a field full of Whitebeard, where they are constantly putting aggression for 6k, sometimes you don't want to dump the cards, and you want to just be able to take a hit on a blocker, and that's it. Now, when it comes down to it, Tony Chopper can swing if necessary, and with it being a one drop, it does get buffs from Magara as well as the 2k counter. Forgive me, I can't think of the name right now, but you can buff it up to 4k with one of the plus 3k effects from the one drops, and with Leader's ability, it is a 5k swing if you need to go for game. The second card that we're going to talk about is Beppo. Beppo is a off-brand Nico Robin. The only reason why I included it as a possible tech is just simply for the fact that it has a 2k counter. In a field full of Whitebeard, Nico Robin doesn't serve as much purpose as it does in other matches, and so when it comes down to it, having a body that is a 2k counter but also can pop if necessary might be more beneficial than the Robin. Now again, this is a base 2k power for a 3-drop, whereas Nico Robin is a 4k for a 3-drop. So it really comes down to it. Nico Robin with the buff and the Dawn comes out to being a 6k swing, where your opponent has to dump a card in order to block it. But as far as Beppo, Beppo is just one of those cards where it's not the greatest, but at the same time, it is a 2k counter. So it comes down to how you justify the counter versus the attacking potential. And the final card, a lot of people are running it, some people aren't. I just think it's generally a good card and could be a possible good tech, is Monkey D. Luffy. Monkey D. Luffy, as we know, it's a 5-drop, 6,000 swing, has Rush, and when there's 2 Dawn on it, your opponent can't activate blocker. And from the leader's effect, it's an automatic 9k. So with the effect from your leader, as well as having the 2 Dawn, you can put your opponent in a very bad spot, because in order to block that 9k swing, they have to dump at least 3 cards, assuming it's all 2ks, and it's even more if it's less than 2k combo power. So overall, there's not very much cards that Zoro can benefit from, but these are definitely some ideas if you want to get to testing. Like I said, Tony Chopper is a good card when it comes down to the Whitebeard matchup, and Beppo is a good card for the Whitebeard matchup, and Monkey D. Luffy is good for things like Kid, as well as a deck that provides a lot of blockers such as Law. Now, you don't have to run these. The deck list that we showed for Meta Monday runs phenomenally, but if you want to try these, give it a try and see how it works out for you. It might be a good play depending on the field that you're running into. In a field full of Whitebeard, it might be good to run Beppo and Chopper, as they provide higher combo potential for out-comboing your opponent, and also adding blocker potential. But that's really it for the techs that you can run in Zoro. But now we're going to go into the list of cards that you can run if Zoro is in your field and you're really playing a specific color and you want to get past it. Okay, so here we are in the list of counters to run against Zoro. Now, there's quite a few, but it really comes down to the color that you're playing and the cards that are in the card pool for your choice. Now, as for red, red has a lot of potential to rush and have disruption, and the first card that we're actually going to talk about is Beppo. Now, the only reason why I say Beppo is because if you don't want to run Nico Robin, but you still want a 2k combo and 2k power that can pop something, it's very strong. Most of Zoro's attackers are small, so that 2k power isn't really going to matter much. When you invest the 1 Dawn, it's a 3k power, and that's enough to kill opposing Vistas or opposing Curly to Dons or Sunnies, and it also gives you the chance to pop one of them. And it's a very good 2k counter as well. And the second card that we're actually going to talk about is Mass Deuce. It does the same thing that Beppo does, except with 2 Dawn investment, you only get to KO a character with 2k or less. It's not as good as Beppo, but it does have a 5k swing potential at leader, and you can pop things such as Nami or Makino, as we see a lot of Zoro players play in order to swarm their board and hit high numbers. And the other card, a lot of people do run it, but some red decks might not, or they might have lower counts. But Vista is a really good card. For a 3 Dawn commitment, you get to pop a 3 or less, and it has 3000 power. As you can see, a lot of the red stuff is more based on nullifying your opponent's turns and making it to where they have to swarm the board more. Now, Zoro is able to do that as much as they please due to having low cost characters, but overall it really just comes down to board control, and these are some great options if you're looking for a more board control based build. And the final red card is actually Roundtable. Roundtable is a good card in the sense that if you're playing the red mirror, you're able to invest 4 Dawn and swing for basically free on their Whitebeards. Instead of having to Gordon, Otama, and Jet Pistol, or double Gordon and Jet Pistol for a 6 Dawn commitment, you can just Roundtable for 4, and it gives you the same effect as Jet Pistol, as it gives them a negative 2k power, and if you swing with, let's say, a Nami or anything like that, they're really not going to want to invest 3+ cards in order to save the Whitebeard. They're going to want to do it around their life, but at the same time, Roundtable gives you the ability to force cards out of their hand while they're on a good enough curve to potentially go for game the following turn. Not having Whitebeard on board actually nullifies a lot of the effects that you really want as a Zoro player, and so Roundtable just gives you a great option. Next for green, we'll just go right into it here. Basil Hawkins, a lot of lists run it, but Basil Hawkins is good because it can help clear the board, and it's a 6k body that gets 2 swings. With the Dawn attached, it's a 7k, and most Zoro players are not going to invest to save their baby characters, and so being able to swing twice just allows for you to knock their board down a bit and make it to where they have to save cards in their hand in order to protect swings. And Basil Hawkins is real good when it comes to KOing a character, restanding, and then going for a leader. Especially at a 7k commitment, it means that your opponent has to dump at least 2 cards unless they get buffed by Whitebeard, but that is when, if you're playing red-green law, for instance, you can Roundtable and Basil Hawkins. So it's just very good. For the last green card, we're talking about Demon Face. Demon Face is a big commitment. It is a 6 Dawn turn, but you can KO 2 of your opponent's rested characters with a 5 cost or less. If your opponent has no cards in their hand or very little and they have a couple bodies on board, most of the time for Zoro, they're swinging with everything. And so when it comes down to it, investing 6 Dawn to KO 2 characters and then KO the rest of their board, it means that you don't have to worry about certain things. Now, it is a lot to commit, and I wouldn't recommend playing this card, but if you're wanting to try out counters for Zoro, this might be something that you want to look at. And finally, for the black cards, we have Asuka. Asuka is just the same thing as Basil Hawkins. If you KO a character in a battle, and you can set the card as active, it's just really good at helping control the board state in the black versus red matchup, and black already has a very bad matchup against red, so it just means that you're allowed to go for bigger plays in order to clear their board. And finally, we have Ice Age. Ice Age is a card that not a lot of people play, but it can be useful. If you don't want to go for the 10-drop Kuzon turn, it gives you the chance for 1 Dawn to -5 on a... It gives you the chance to -5 on a Whitebeard, putting them at a 4 cost, and with the leader's effect of Smoker, for instance, you can drop it down to a 3 cost and then Kobe. Now, that's just as much of investment as going for 10-drop Kuzan, but if you don't have the 4-drop Kuzan on board, it means that the 10-drop will not KO anything, and it means that you're wasting a turn in order to put a body out to try and compete against Whitebeard, but it doesn't really do much. Now with Ice Age, it gives you a couple more resources in order to KO the Whitebeards that Zoro play. You already can KO really anything on the board aside from their Whitebeard, but Ice Age just gives you the potential to further. You can Ice Age a Whitebeard and put out Sakazuki for a 7 Dawn investment but guarantee the KO, whereas when you are running the 4-drop Kuzan, you have to swing, and if they're bumped to 7k on their leader, they're not going to take the hit, and 10-drop Kuzan gets played to KO the Whitebeard. But you get a lot more out of being able to Ice Age into a Sakazuki, for instance, because it still gives you 3 Dawn to work with. So thank you guys so much for watching today's Tech Tuesday. These videos are relatively fast. I just want them to be quick talks about what's good and what isn't against certain decks, and what you can try if you're wanting to see how a particular matchup goes when you're playing the tech cards against it. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you do, remember to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.